Hey everybody, you're about to watch an EFT tapping session where you can see how sometimes things that feel like, oh, it's just resistance, procrastination to doing some tasks or some business ideas can sometimes pretty quickly be traced back to something much more intense, much more deep rooted. And that is the beauty of the technique, and you'll definitely see that happen here. And you will hear, like, oh, I hadn't thought about this in a long time, or I was really surprised to see that this is really the energy that's coming up. This is what this is all about. And I really love the ability to get to more what you might call root causes of issues efficiently like this. So I hope you get a lot of value from this. This is from a wonderful volunteer who's part of my weekly program. And yes, this person did know even before we did the session that this was going to be uploaded. So just wanted to make that clear. And if you have any questions about this process or what you see, any comments, just let me know. I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much.
I would love to explore some fears around what happens when there is a desire and then that fear that shuts it down.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something I want to do, or I have this idea. For example, the last one was that, not the last one, it's recurring
Mm.
desire that's been on my heart for quite a while now to um, do something like a newsletter for my local village, my community, and I have these specific ideas how I want to do that. And every time it comes up, I feel, yeah, I feel this is a strong desire. This is not just a fleeting
Yeah.
something, but um, straight away after, I feel this foggy kind of anxiety and then of course then I just move on and do my things,
Mm.
wash dishes or whatever, instead of doing anything about it. I sometimes journal about it, but
Okay.
then that's it.
Okay, so this is something you're definitely passionate about, but it's not something that's required with a hard deadline. It's something that
No,
it's a passion
no,
project that you have. There's no dire consequences if you put it off, so you're able to just kind of keep putting it aside.
yes.
Yeah.
But I've noticed even if there was, like even with things that I would, like even when you said the word deadline, I could feel
Mm.
like I don't want a deadline for anything really in life. It's
Okay,
enough to catch planes and trains.
got it. Yeah, so that adds a layer, any of what you might call a sort of more standard strategies, like, well, let's give myself a deadline. That creates its own type of anxiety. Is that anxiety you were describing just now similar to the kind of foggy anxiety?
I guess it's a bit more intense because maybe it's a more specific already to do something,
Hmm.
So it has even more energy with the bigger horizon kind of vision. It's easier to just say, "Oh yeah, it will happen one day."
Okay.
So the fog is there, but yeah, I've just really noticed it, but it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't disturb me that much.
Good. Yeah. Well, let's actually lean into that a little bit. As long as you feel like it's on the same track, that if leaning in a little bit to the idea of, okay, let's say I'm actually going to give myself a deadline to do this, not
Hmm.
as a technique to make ourselves do it, but to bring up that anxiety in a little more of a focused way, only because we're going to address it and help release that and get to the core of it. Can you describe? So, I mean, I saw it in your body language a bit, but can you describe some of the physical sensation around that?
Yeah, I feel like my whole face turns red and it feels like a fear, almost like a fear of being embarrassed or something.
Mm.
Like there is, yeah, I feel fear and shame in it. That, yeah, and it's sort of choking me up a little bit in the throat, and I
Yeah.
feel my energy rushing up into my head.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty. So just start tapping even as we explore this a little bit, wherever you'd like. And I'm curious, this experience with the energy rushing to your head, and the energy you're feeling in your body, does this feel like it's a fear of being embarrassed, purely something you're imagining, or does this feel like something you recall, like your body is, whether you have the specific memory or not, does it feel like we've been here before?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's very familiar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that feeling, that familiarity of it, is anything in particular coming up? Any details?
My dad's face and stern facial expression sort of
Hmm.
keeps popping in. Um, yeah, I think I felt it quite often that he would just, freeze up if something was not pleasing
Mm.
enough for him. And now there is a specific memory. Yeah, when I was 17 and um, I was pregnant, and by this time we made the decision that my husband and I said we're gonna get married, and my dad was very supportive, but then he sort of took over, and everything had to be done his way, and I made one statement that I wanted something that I didn't want to get married in a church because my priest actually suggested that I don't, because he said I was under pressure to,
Mm.
and I wasn't free to make a lifelong commitment. And it
Mm.
resonated with me, and I shared that with my dad, and then his face just did that thing, and he just got verbally very harsh, and you're like your mother, and um, which in itself was very hurtful because I
Mm.
thought I don't have any control over what I am like. And of course, I am like my mom because she's my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then, of course, everything had to be the way he wanted it to be. And I remember just really sort of withdrawing and collapsing into, okay, well, you know, I have no chance here.
Okay. So as your dad is there with that look on his face, it recalls a similar feeling of that withdrawing, the energy rushing to your head, the sense
Hmm.
of that kind of overwhelm.
Yeah, that fear and that I'm really embarrassed. How dared I even think that I can have a say, that I can, feel something and want things that I want to do in my way, I guess. Yeah.
He's saying that, or you're also feeling that
I,
internally.
I'm I'm
How dare
thinking
I?
that I'm feeling that like uh, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, very, very good awareness here. So yeah, we kind of able to lock onto something pretty strong here right away. So let's go to the side of the hand and repeat after me. Let's say, even though
Even though
I can feel all of this in my body,
I can feel all of this in my body,
the fear and embarrassment,
the fear and embarrassment
the rushing to my head,
rushing to my head,
the contraction,
the contraction
reminds me of my dad
reminds me of my dad.
and his stern face when I was 17.
His stern face when I was 17.
That's an intense thing for a teenager.
That's an intense thing for a teenager.
And I choose to have compassion for myself.
And I choose to have compassion for myself.
And however my body, mind, nervous system
And however my body, my mind, and my nervous system
may have been holding on to this.
may have been holding on to this.
So even though
So even though
I'm feeling all of this sensation and emotion,
I'm feeling all of this sensation and emotion,
from the fear and embarrassment
from the fear and embarrassment
to the rushing to my head,
to the rushing to my head,
the memory of his stern face.
the memory of his stern face.
That's a lot for a 17-year-old,
That's a lot for a 17-year-old,
especially one who's pregnant and dealing with marriage.
especially one that's pregnant and dealing with marriage.
And I'm allowing myself to feel compassion
And I'm allowing myself to feel compassion
for what that must be like
for that must have been like,
and what my body is still holding here.
and what my body is still holding here.
So even though there's all of this emotion
So even though there is all of this emotion
and all these intense sensations,
and all these intense sensations,
it makes sense
it makes sense
that the enormous pressure
that the enormous pressure
and intensity of that kind of situation
and the intensity of that kind of situation
as a pregnant 17-year-old,
as a pregnant 17-year-old,
getting that reaction from her father,
getting that reaction from her father,
that this created so much energy in me.
that this created so much energy in me.
And I choose to honor and accept myself
And I choose to honor and accept myself
and to give myself some space now
and to give myself some space now
for all of that energy,
for all of that energy,
all of that emotion,
all of that emotion,
to get the chance to process
just to give the chance to process
that it never really got in that moment.
that it never really got in that moment.
And let's go through the points now. Just say all this intensity.
All this intensity
There's all this emotion
and all this emotion
of fear and embarrassment.
of fear and embarrassment.
And how dare I?
And how dare I?
How dare I even entertain
How dare I even entertain
wanting to do things my way?
wanting to do things my way?
For my own wedding, by the way.
For my own wedding, by the way.
And all of these intense messages I'm getting
And all these intense messages I'm getting
from what at that age,
from, sorry,
from at that age,
at that age,
men that I might still see
and that I might still see
as authority figures,
as authority figures,
saying, well, maybe it shouldn't be in the church.
saying, well, maybe it shouldn't be in the church.
And hearing that from the priest
And hearing that from the priest
has to cause some reactions.
is to cause some reactions.
And then my dad's disagreeing,
And then my dad's disagreeing,
that disapproval,
that disapproval,
that stern look on his face,
that stern look on his face,
saying you're like your mother,
saying you're like your mother,
as an insult.
as an insult.
And how loaded is that?
And how loaded is that?
For my dad to be telling me
Or my dad to be telling me
that being like my mom
that being like my mom
is bad.
is bad.
There's so much in that one moment,
There is so much in that one moment.
it's hard to even unpack
It's hard to even unpack
because it says something about their relationship
because it says something about their relationship
and how he saw her and me.
and how he saw her and me.
And all of that was getting through.
And all of that was getting through.
All of that was being communicated
All of that was being communicated
in a situation
in a situation
that's already rather stressful.
that already, yes, rather stressful.
Being 17 and pregnant
Being 17 and pregnant
and about to get married,
and about to get married.
that's not exactly a situation
It's not exactly a situation
where we feel we have it all figured out.
where we feel we have it all figured out. Yeah.
It'd be nice to get some help and support
It would be nice to get some help and support
from the adults in my life
from the adults in my life
who are supposed to know better.
who's supposed to know better.
But here I'm getting a stern face,
But here I'm getting a stern face
and judged and accused
and judged and accused
and basically criticized.
and basically criticized.
Plus, he's taking over.
Plus, he's taking over.
And of course, that brings up so much.
And of course, that brings up so much
From the guilt and shame
from the guilt and shame
and the embarrassment about all of it.
and the embarrassment about all of it.
No wonder my body wanted to withdraw.
No wonder my body wanted to withdraw.
But where could it go?
Where could it go?
What's it gonna do?
What's it gonna do?
We can't really run away from this.
We can't really run away from this.
And we can't exactly fight these men.
We can't exactly fight these men.
It's very confusing
It's very confusing
on almost every possible level.
on almost every possible level. And I remember my husband just being there quiet. He was not my husband yet, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't exactly able to help.
no, he wasn't able to help.
Was he also young?
21.
Yeah. So he was also very young.
Yes, he was also very young.
He's younger than the men taking charge here.
Yeah, he's much younger than the man taking charge here, yes.
So he doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't know what to do.
So where am I supposed to turn?
So where am I supposed to turn?
Where could I go or look
Where could I go or look
to feel even a moment of security?
to feel even a moment of security?
A place where I can make sense of all of this.
A place where I could make sense of all this
And feel safe enough for some of this to process.
and feel safe enough for some of these to process.
That wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
Kind of the opposite of that was there.
Kind of the opposite was there, yes.
So it is no wonder
So it is no wonder
that this is still so active within me,
that this is still so active within me,
that my body's having all of these range of responses,
that my body is having all of this range of responses,
wanting to withdraw,
wanting to withdraw
yet rushes of energy,
with rushes of energy,
feeling embarrassed and ashamed,
feeling embarrassed and ashamed,
but also feeling like,
but also feeling like,
well, of course I'm like my mom.
but of course, I'm like my mom.
You guys raised me,
You guys raised me,
and no one's
Yep.
helping me out here.
and no one's helping me out here.
So the best thing I can do
So the best thing I can do
is be there now
is be there now
for everything in my body,
for everything in my body,
everything that 17-year-old was experiencing,
everything that 17-year-old was experiencing,
and finally give the space and support
and finally give this space and support.
that really would have been nice.
That really would have been nice.
I'm just allowing myself to feel
I'm just allowing myself to feel
that welcoming space
that welcoming space
where all those emotions are allowed,
where all those emotions are allowed,
where everything I wanted to say,
where everything I wanted to say,
everything I wanted to ask,
everything I wanted to ask,
everything my body wanted to express,
everything my body wanted to express.
that was totally not safe in that situation.
That was totally not safe in that situation.
I'm giving it permission now.
I'm giving it permission now.
I'm allowing it to express
I'm allowing it to express
or not express,
or not express.
but just letting it know that we're here now.
Just letting it know that we're here now.
And no one is judging this now.
And no one is judging it now.
And what would I have liked to have heard?
And what I would have liked to have heard
It might have been really nice if someone said,
might have been really nice if someone said,
yeah, there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
yeah, there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
You didn't do anything wrong here.
didn't do anything wrong here. Wow.
Does
Oh,
anything come up in response to like what would be nice to hear?
ah, what really flooded in right now was that I actually already felt so small and scared that I did do something very wrong
Mm.
and I'm being punished here. That's why I have to get married because
Mm.
I did something wrong. So now I have to get married. I have to do as I'm told because I did something really wrong and I deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
And so it's like yeah, I can hardly fathom that I could have ever expected, some kind of compassion or understanding or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Let's keep tapping and say, I thought I deserved it.
I thought I deserved it. Yeah.
However uncomfortable it was,
However uncomfortable it was,
however non-supportive it was,
however non-supportive it was,
however much it felt like a punishment,
however much it felt like a punishment,
my entire framework
my entire framework
was, well, yeah, I deserve that.
was, yeah, I deserve that. Yeah.
I did something wrong here.
I did something very wrong here.
Of course, this is all uncomfortable.
Of course, this is all uncomfortable.
Of
Mm.
course, I'm being looked at with a stern face.
Of course, I'm being looked at with a stern face.
Of course, I'm being treated this way.
Of course, I'm being treated this way.
I did something to deserve this.
I did something to deserve this.
So even though it feels bad,
So even though it feels bad,
this is all totally appropriate.
this is all totally appropriate. Yeah.
And if I were to picture
And if I were to picture
a 17-year-old young woman
a 17-year-old young woman
that I care about
that I care about
going through this,
going through this,
what would I think towards her?
what would I think towards her?
What would I say towards her?
What would I say towards her?
Would I be thinking, well, she deserves to be punished?
Would I be thinking she's deserved to be punished? No.
Okay, good. Yeah. What what
No,
what
no, no.
what
Like my
would
head
your
knows that
what
it
would
was
your
ridiculous.
response be if you saw someone else, someone you cared about in that situation?
I pictured it many times if one of my daughters, did that, and it would have been, you know, let's figure it out together.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see what you want to do. Let's explore the options. It's okay. It
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm
it's
allowing
all right.
myself to tune into that energy
Allowing myself to tune into that energy.
of this is simply what's happened.
And this is simply what's happened.
No one's a bad person.
No one's a bad person.
No one did some horrible thing
No one did some horrible thing.
where they deserve punishment.
Yeah, they deserve punishment.
This young woman doesn't deserve
This young woman doesn't deserve
to be treated with a lack of respect.
to be treated with a lack of respect.
It's a situation to be dealt with.
It's a situation to be dealt with.
And even if I feel
And even if I feel
that to me it's not an optimal situation,
that to me it's not an optimal situation,
that doesn't mean I have to judge it
it doesn't mean I have to judge it
or that anyone deserves to suffer.
or that anyone deserves to suffer.
It's just this is the situation, what to be done about it.
This is a situation, what to be done about it?
It really would have been nice
It really would have been nice
if that was the energy I had
if that was the energy I had
given towards me.
given towards me.
And I can appreciate the fact
And I can appreciate the fact
that I learned the idea
that I learned the idea
that what I did was bad and wrong.
that what I did was bad and wrong. Mm.
Why would I have questioned it at 17?
Why would I have questioned it at 17?
If we're told something is bad and wrong,
If we're told something is bad and wrong,
at that age, we're still probably going to believe it.
at that age, you're still probably gonna believe it. Yeah.
So I can forgive the fact that I didn't question this.
Well, I can forgive the fact that I didn't question this.
It was just a fact at the time.
It was just a fact at the time.
I obviously did a bad thing.
I obviously did a bad thing.
So now I have to take the consequences.
And now I have to take the consequences.
And I'm open to letting go of that.
And I'm open to letting go of that.
I'm open to seeing that in a different way
I'm open to seeing that in a different way
without blaming anyone.
without blaming anyone.
That is what happened.
That is what happened.
But I'm allowing myself to open up,
I'm allowing myself to open up,
to see it from a different perspective,
to see it from a different perspective,
not from the perspective
not from the perspective
of, oh yeah, I screwed up when I was 17
oh yeah, I screwed up when I was 17
and I was punished, but I deserved it.
and I was punished, but I deserved it.
To, yeah, that was a challenging thing at
To,
17.
yeah, that was a challenging thing at 17.
And no one really knew how to handle it.
And no one really knew how to handle it.
But I don't deserve to be punished for it.
But I don't deserve to be punished for it.
And I certainly don't deserve
And I certainly don't deserve
to be continually punished for several years
to be continually punished for several years
in my body and my mind,
in my body and my mind,
holding on to this.
holding on to this.
I think the punishment has been enough.
I think the punishment has been enough.
Might have been more than enough when it first happened.
It have been more than enough when it first happened. Yeah.
So I'm open to letting go of this
So I'm open to letting go of this
and seeing it from a different place.
and seeing it from a different place.
Not as someone who was bad and wrong,
Not as someone who was bad and wrong,
but as simply someone who was 17.
but as simply someone who was 17.
What else could she have done at 17?
What else could she have done at 17?
But we're giving that support now,
But we're giving that support now,
allowing ourselves to feel into
allowing ourselves to feel into
the compassion there,
the compassion there,
the opening up to letting go of that.
the opening up to letting go of that.
And let's just check in and see what's happening. Is that feel like it's accessible? Is anything moving?
Yeah, I just feel the vulnerability. That was the reality of,
Good.
yeah, how vulnerable I was really.
Yeah.
17 being with child. Mm.
Yeah. And as you feel into the vulnerability of that, is that does that have its own set of emotions? Is that intense? Is it unpleasant? Does it feel more spacious? Can you describe what you're experiencing?
It just feels like natural that, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But nobody really picked up on how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never even, before now, I never even felt like, oh my goodness, even that priest, like,
Yeah.
you know, he was with me all through my childhood and teenage years. And when this happened and I asked him to marry us and he said no,
Right.
you
Right.
know, and how I understood his logic, but I still felt a bit, I don't know, betrayed maybe. And
Sure, sure.
mm, but I was just always just accepting everything that the adults said.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, they are right. They know better.
Yeah. As you are becoming aware of this vulnerability and this shift in perspective of like, yeah, I had to roll with it, but there was a lot of pretty intense things happening there that were happening so much at once that they couldn't, the weight of them probably couldn't really be digested in the moment. Has it
Mm.
shifted what you're experiencing physically at all? Is there still the withdrawing? Has that evolved in any way?
No, I feel like, yeah, if I feel more sort of alive and
Okay. Okay, so it's
able
moving in a
to just,
positive direction.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, let's support it a little more,
Hmm.
just because there are other things coming up, and so let's just say, yeah, I'm feeling more open,
Yeah, I'm feeling more open,
and I'm giving myself permission
and I'm giving myself permission
for whatever else needs to come up.
for whatever else needs to come up.
That in the moment of all of this
That in the moment of all of this,
was just so fast and so much,
it was just so fast and so much.
it never really had the chance
Never really had the chance
to be even looked at or thought about.
that we even looked at or thought about. Mm.
So I'm just keeping that door open for a moment
So I'm just keeping that door open for a moment
for anything else that needs to come up.
for anything else that needs to come up.
It's like, yeah, he was my priest my whole life.
Yeah, it was my first time whole life.
And
Mm.
yeah, that actually was hurtful.
And that actually was hurtful.
And it's okay to recognize now
And it's okay to recognize
that I did feel that way,
that I did feel that way,
but I can let it go.
but I can let it go.
I'll have to
It
fix my,
disappeared from
yeah,
the
my camera
screen.
overheated. I'll switch it
Okay.
in a sec here.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep tapping and let's say,
Yeah.
yeah, that I did feel that,
I did feel that,
but I'm feeling it now
but I'm feeling it now
on the way out.
on the way out.
Just allowing that all to release now.
Just allowing all that to release now.
And anything else that needs to come up.
And anything else that needs to come up.
Just giving the space for anything else
Just giving the space for anything else
that didn't have the chance to be processed here.
that didn't have the chance to be processed here.
And just pause there for a sec and rest in that for a moment. Make sure it still feels spacious or see if anything is coming up that feels like it needs, more support.
Um, it feels spacious and also it's like there is a lot of sadness.
Mm, yeah. The sadness that you're feeling now, just give that a moment. We'll tune into that a little bit.
Mm.
And see how
Uh,
that's responding, if that's moving through you, if it's interacting with your body, any tension, anything happening physically.
yeah, it doesn't feel stuck. It feels like it's, that process when we come to that place of actually processing
Oh,
what
good.
happened, that
Good.
yeah.
So just go ahead and keep tapping where you'd like, and let's just stay with that for a moment. As long as it feels like it's processing.
Mm.
It's just an aspect of this that there probably wasn't a chance to really feel. There was so much other um, intense emotions that the sadness behind it all just didn't have a chance to really be
Mm.
seen or experienced.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, I guess at that time just had to cope somehow. and there was this hardening, but now I feel like everybody was so scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Just so scared, what will people think? And
Yeah. See
all
if you,
that, I just feel that general pressure
yeah.
on everyone, on that this whole situation just
Mm.
created this tremendous pressure on every single person who was involved. My mom, my dad, the
Sure,
priest,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
See if you can feel this now, this pressure that you had to harden into, and see if it feels like from your current perspective now, maybe even putting yourself in there if you need to, if it's okay now to soften and just let that not be hardened up against, not resist it.
Yeah, I think that's what that sadness is that softening and yeah, allowing that melting
Yeah.
process to happen. I feel like it's almost like the tears and the sadness will help this unwind even further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Great. Yeah. Let's do a little something here to just kind of sneak away, move away from this, and just let yourself know that there's time to process this and have those tears, and let your body do that in the right space and time. It's not like we try to force that to happen ever, right? So
Mhm.
let's just say, even though
Even though
there's some sadness here
there is some sadness here
and some things to be felt through and released,
and some things to be felt through and released,
my body knows how to do that.
my body knows how to do that.
And I choose to give it the space and time for that.
I choose to give it the space and time for that.
And let's just tap through the points and say, yeah, these uncried tears,
These uncried tears,
this hardening from the pressure
this hardening from the pressure,
that's beginning to soften.
it's beginning to soften.
It has its own process.
It has its own process.
That energy seems to know what it's doing.
That energy seems to know what it's doing.
And whatever I need to do,
And whatever I need to do,
whatever I need to feel, process through,
whatever I need to feel, process through,
I can give myself time for that.
I can give myself time for that.
Doesn't have to be right now.
Doesn't have to be right now.
If it wants to right now, it's okay.
If it wants to right now, it's okay.
But it's also okay
But it's also okay
for this to go at its own pace.
for this to go at its own pace.
And if I have other things to do this morning,
And if I have other things to do this morning,
I can safely put this
I can safely put this
in a space
in a space
where I know I can return to it,
where I know I can return to it,
where it won't be forgotten,
where it won't be forgotten,
and I can return to it as needed.
and I can return to it as needed.
But I know my body is okay with this
But I know my body is okay with
because
this.
it's been holding this for enough years.
It's been holding this for enough years.
I know that it's able to hold this,
I know that it's able to hold this,
and it probably is quite a relief
and it's probably quite a relief
that it can begin unwinding this.
that it can begin unwinding this.
And so I'm just allowing myself to do that
So I'm just allowing myself to do that
in the way that's right for me,
in the way that's right for me,
whenever is best for me.
whenever is best for me.
Let's take a breath there. And let's just check in with how that feels. Make sure that feels like it's an okay place to, kind of leave this particular space. But you might, if you have time or you want, you can continue as you want through the day or the week, or the month? Just checking with where you're at right now.
Yeah, it feels calm, and it's like there is this sense of gratitude,
Mm,
maybe. It's interesting. Just feels like, ah, finally,
mm.
something like that.
Yeah, it finally got the space to be seen and relax a bit. And I'm curious
Mm,
also about the original
mm.
loop of the motivation to do these flyers or this organization, and tune back into that. And I'm curious if that has feels like the energy around that has shifted at all.
Yeah, when I think about that, there is no fog now.
Good.
It's, it feels like when I bring that to mind, then there is this, okay, what's,
Good.
and just this little opening or something.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, that feels
Yeah.
really
Good. So the two are
interesting.
definitely linked in that way. And as this has more of a chance
It,
to release, there's less of that feeling of intensity and judgment around
Mhm.
these other tasks. So it's good. We're definitely on the right track with not only, releasing something deeper, but it seems like it's connected to these other
Ah,
current tasks, right?
oh, absolutely. It feels like, oh my goodness, of course. You didn't even want to go there to think of what I want. I was
Right.
waiting for the slam.
Right. Right. When you've lived through that kind of intensity, the last thing your system is going to do is let you voluntarily put yourself in a position where you're now going to be subject to those kinds of pressures and judgments and
Mm,
thoughts. It's like we're not going to go there again, of course. So yeah, as it
mhm.
begins to feel more free from that, and you can see it as, yeah, this can be met with the compassion that would have been nice to have had. It's an opportunity now to be with that in a way that people were not able to be for you at that time, because
Mm.
like you said, they were overwhelmed and confused by the whole thing, understandably.
Yeah, yeah. They wanted to be obedient to their own
Right.
pressures and expectations of, yeah, that were
Yeah,
imposed on them. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
So then trying to mold me so I fit into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all trying to do what we can with like what we're programmed with, but that's the nice thing about this kind of work is we're trying
Mm,
to free ourselves from those things so we can just see it more objectively, really, and just say, oh, this situation needs support and compassion, not like, you know, more pressure and stress and I should be punished for this.
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Great work. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Great. And I'll talk to you soon.